Welcome to another Fighting Spirits podcast with me, Gareth A Davies. On this episode, I meet Gilbert and Keri Melendez, husband and wife, both fighters, father and mother, who run a training center, a gym in San Francisco, California. They talked to me about when they first met, how she gave him a black eye on their first date, and how fighting and love all meld together in their life and their relationship. I'm here in the El Nino, yeah?
Yeah.
As in the child, El Nino.
El Nino as in the storm. So the Japanese gave me the nickname, but a lot of people in Mexico or Latinos think it's the kid, right? The kid. They call, are you the kid? As actually, we got named El Nino after the storm. The Japanese said I was taking the Japanese MMA scene by storm, so named after a small storm. I'm pretty cool with that.
I don't think you're a small storm. I've seen you fight, remember, many, many times. And Kari, what's your fighting moniker, your fighting sobriquet, the name you use to fight?
I don't exactly have a fight name, but Gilbert keeps trying to put on Scary Keri because he thinks I'm scary.
We baptized her Scary Keri, but this happened a long time ago. My friends gave her the nickname, during the... our first years in a relationship, they all met her and they started calling her Scary Keri. When you get to know her, she has she has sometimes a scary personality, and when she fights, and Gilbert's scary too.
I have met Keri probably twice now. I think I've been around two of your fights. Pachanga, did you fight?
Yes.
And I think it's more scary. I'm going to think during this 45, 50 minutes of this first podcast about what your name's going to be in my journalistic promoter hype mind head, okay? And because I see you in a different way, because I've seen you in Bellator. I've seen you at an event where there were 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 very formidable women, all of you. Felt like a new wave in MMA, felt like a new wave coming, a new wave of women who are mothers, who have something to say, who have standing, who will go on to be very impressive people, not just through their fighting, but with the message they're bringing.
Yes, I agree. It was amazing to be on the card with such strong women, and we all were not really banding together because we're not teammates, but we loved raising girl power at that time and just kind of helping build each other up and wanting to just put on great fights.
Now, I've known Gil probably for about 12 years, I think, pretty much. Maybe that's before you guys met?
It was 12 years. It was right around when we met. 12 years?
Yeah, I think we met about 12 years ago.
Yes.
Yes. Married for 5 years. A kid that's 8 years old. So we have a long history together.
So, let's do this. How did you both meet? And can you remember the first time you met Gil and remember what you thought?
We met through a mutual friend, and the first time I met him, he just had a great energy about him, and that's what really attracted me to him. He was just funny, but he was a little bit arrogant. I felt like he was a little bit arrogant in my opinion, but he was he was great to me and a sweet guy to me.
Gil's always struck me as a diamond in the rough, who when you get to know him, he's very, very smooth.
Yes, he is. He's funny also. He definitely, one of his best assets, he makes me laugh all the time.
When you met him that first time, you thought, oh, he's a little bit arrogant, but you liked him. You liked something about him. Could you say it was love at first roll, or were you in a gym or not?
We were not in a gym. You might have seen me at a gym.
Yeah,
maybe
I might have
before.
spotted her, but the first time we met was at a Mexican restaurant. A mutual friend brought us together. We had some margaritas. We started talking crap. She did the Muay Thai. I was doing MMA. We didn't know each other at all from the martial arts scene. Our friend just connected us because of that. And, she was pro Muay Thai. I was pro MMA. We debated about it. We had a great night. I was trying to win her over. But by the end of the night, she gave me a black eye. And I knew she was worth calling back,
Hang on a minute, let me get this straight. So, you meet for the first time, you get put together in a Mexican restaurant, you have a few margaritas, she thinks you're a little bit arrogant, you're chasing her, and you go home with a black eye. Please explain, Keri.
Oh my goodness. This story just always makes me laugh. Just, we were discussing fighting, and he thought it was cute and fun that I fought, and he wanted to see my skills. And he was kind of teasing me a little bit, and he was wanting to hold mitts for me, and it's like, let me see how hard you can hit, and I missed the pad on accident, and I popped him one in the eye.
Not an accident at all. Yeah.
Not an accident.
But you can see how
it puts a very different kind of scope on domestic battery here, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I could have called the police on her, and it could have been a whole different case. But there was something about it. Keri is deceiving. Till this day, people see her and they don't see the strength, they don't see the power, they don't see the intensity. They always underestimate her just because she's sweet, she's beautiful, and I did that the first time as well, and I paid for it.
But at least you went home with something to remember her by. When you looked in the mirror the next morning, you think, no, I wasn't dreaming that last night. I did meet that beautiful girl last night.
Absolutely. I think most men would run away from that, saying, I don't know if I can handle this alpha woman. I like to be an alpha man, and I want to be the head of the household and everything. But I think it takes a real man to be able to handle a woman like her.
So when you went home that night, by the time you got home, maybe you didn't know you'd given him a shiner, as we call it in the UK, a shiner, a black eye. And when you went home, did you like him then by that point, or did you think, wow, I just docked that guy in the eye there, he's going to remember me?
I did enjoy his company. We had a great time, and it was for him to be able to take that and laugh about it. I did not know I gave him a black eye, but I knew there was a little red mark. I wasn't sure. Maybe I did know it would turn into a black eye, but he handled it well, and I enjoyed his company.
So tell me a little bit. Let's go even further back up. You're both from this area, yeah? You're both from San Francisco?
Well, we actually both grew up in Southern California, but we both made our way to the Bay Area eventually. And I got here maybe 2 years before her. 2000 was when I moved here, and she moved here in 2002.
Yes, that's
and
right.
We met maybe 2004.
No, we met in 2005. 6?
Yeah, 5 or 6 or something like that.
2006.
Yeah, we met.
2006.
So what about separately growing up? Where did you grow up, and, were you a fighter growing up?
I was not. I was always an athlete growing up. I played baseball with the boys. My dad didn't have me in softball. And in junior high, I played volleyball and basketball, high school basketball, ran track. And then I played 1 year of college basketball. And I grew up in Southern California in the San Fernando Valley in Van Nuys, California.
Oh, the kind of area where Tom Waits does his singing poetry, yeah? Do you know Tom Waits? Frank's wild years. Frank hung his wild years on the nail that he drove through his wife's forehead. His wife made good Bloody Marys, kept her mouth shut most of the time, had a little pet chihuahua named Carlos with some incurable skin disease and was totally blind. Anyway, Frank goes on to buy some drink, get some gas and burn the place down. Tom Waits is one of those kind of very laconic, kind of sardonic, kind of singing authors from that area. And is it a tough area to grow up in?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a rough neighborhood, the one I lived in, but we were okay. It was a little rough.
But you got into fighting through being a sportswoman, really, rather than, you're in the hood, fighting your way out of the hood.
Right. I got into it for being an athlete and a competitor.
What about you, Gil?
Yeah, I think she's holding him back a little. She grew up in Van Nuys, and Van Nuys ain't no joke out there. And predominantly, I think Mexican Latino people out there. Probably why she took some interest in me as well. But she's been hit by a car by the age of 5 years old. And she wasn't crippled from it, but she's roaming the streets young, and she's been tough, and hasn't had the easiest life. So she's definitely tough as nails, and she got in fights on the basketball court when she played. So she's always had the fighter's mentality in sports. So it did find her eventually, and I think it was her calling as a competitor.
And what about you, Gil? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the city of Santa Ana, and I enjoyed it. You don't know what's a rough area because it's where you grew up in. So I loved it. Some people do call it rough. I think there were gangs there. was predominantly Mexican. There was violence there. Some of my friends took different paths. But it was a neighborhood where, you didn't let your mouth write a check your ass can't cash, right? During those times. And so I learned how to hold myself out there. And it makes you tough. It makes you durable, because that's not an area where you can go run to mommy and daddy to bail you out of trouble. So you got to learn to handle yourself out there. I think the same for her. I wasn't a gangster. I wasn't in trouble. But I knew, I knew how to hang out there. I knew how to survive out there. I knew how to stay out of trouble. I knew how to walk a straight line and stay out of trouble's path. And I mind my P's and Q's.
So you both grow up there and you find your way to San Francisco. Why the Bay Area? Why did you both come here then?
For myself, I had family here. Mainly I had my sister, and we were really close, so I wanted to come and try something new and be in a new city and for fun. A little adventure.
Yeah, I came here to wrestle in college a little bit. SF State, I got a small scholarship, which was nice. Santa Ana High School is where I wrestled at, and I was ranked in the state. I didn't place at the end of the year because I got injured, but wrestling got me an opportunity to have a smaller scholarship. I applied for Cal State Fullerton. I was about to, but my application came in the mail, and my dad grabbed it. I saw him step on the trash can. The lid came up, and he dropped it. And he said, "You need to get out of here," and I really appreciate him for that. You can get trapped in a city like Santa Ana, which is a great city, but I think he had bigger things in mind for myself, and I'm glad he did do that. I was exposed to so many different things, and came to San Francisco, and here the rest is history.
So you've both been here for pretty much a decade and a half, yeah? We're talking about, really. So we're sitting here in this brilliant boxing ring. I'm just testing the ropes. They're great.
Nice.
The noise behind me is, I think, is that the BART train that goes by?
That's actually the Muni. The Muni.
The municipal train, is
yes,
it? Yeah.
Yes. That's the T-line right there, and we have all kinds of railroad systems. And, that's the Muni right there, and we have the BART as well as the Caltran. But, yes.
So that you can hear the cars zooming by. We're at 2920 3rd Avenue here in San Francisco. I jokingly said, we're in the hood when we came here, but it's kind of an industrial area, having driven here. And, we're sitting here in the ring. We're on the far side of your enormous gym. I don't know what the square footage is.
Yeah, 7,000 square feet. Yeah, we're in the Bayview. We like to call it the Dog Patch, which is a more friendly name. The Bayview has a rough reputation. 3rd and Cesar Chavez, and some people call it the hood out here, but I think we've really bridged that gap. People from all neighborhoods are welcome here. We got people who've had rough life, working here and working out and training here, and we have tech people coming out here. We got cops, we got ex-cons, we got everything out here. We got all walks of life here, and we have an open door, and I really think we bridged a gap to the neighborhoods.
I love the fact you're 3rd and Cesar Chavez as well, because you'll know your history. I've read about Cesar Chavez over the years. He's a great American-Mexican hero as a great union leader, isn't he? So it's quite nice to have that here, that you've got that kind of cultural history, and you're placed here in this enormous, it is really an enormous facility, heavy bags all the way along, kick bags, a mat that I suppose there could be 80, 90 people rolling at the same time.
Oh my goodness. Okay. You're better at that stuff.
Yeah,
How many people?
Yeah, we probably do. Some classes, the jiu-jitsu class and the kickboxing class going at the same time. We might have 40 people in a jiu-jitsu class, and then another 40 people doing a Muay Thai class, and then other people sparring and, moving around here. Yeah, probably maybe 100 people at a time could be training.
There's almost, it's so tall, Keri. It's so kind of, in terms of the ceiling. And obviously, I said to Gil when I first came in, wow, I bet they used to do used cars or something in here, or you could see 50 cars in here and then working. It was an old mechanic's garage, and Gil was telling me how the floor was oily, and he was telling me how, the concrete's beautifully laid down the other end, and the mats look amazing. There's two little kids rolling with the fella over there at the moment. Doing a little class. Literally the children are probably 8 and 9, 7 and 8. It's got the hangar doors are open. We're sitting on the ring with the hangar doors, with the traffic and the train running behind. It's got a very, it feels very welcoming here, if I've got the vibe right. Your doors are open, it feels like.
Yes, definitely. We I love this neighborhood here, and I really would love to get more of the neighborhood involved and all the people. So
yeah, I think it's important for us not to only have a great gym and develop fantastic fighters, but we want to develop people with great character, and we have a great community here, and I think that's also what distinguishes us from a lot of gyms. Yeah, we want to create good fighters, but we want to create a good community and give back to the community out here, and this place has nothing fancy. Many gyms are trying to get the newest technology, have an app on your treadmill, have an app on your bike. You know what we have here? We have bags, we have chains, we got hard work, we got sweat.
The school of old.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. That's how it is here, and you earn your stripes. It's a sink or swim type of environment, but we don't discriminate at all. As long as you're willing to put the work in. Doesn't mean you have to be in fantastic shape. You can be in the worst shape, but if you're willing to show up every day, work hard, be respectful to everybody, it's going to be all right.
And Kari, I want to ask you about this, because Gil was telling me earlier that I think you call it non-for-profit in America, like we call it a charity organisation, that you've created a non-profit side of the gym and your business here, because you want the local community to come in, and presumably they're subsidised, young people, I suppose, or families that don't have much money, that are on state benefits or whatever they are able to come here maybe on less money, or explain how that works.
Well, we just started this year, so I definitely don't have everything put together yet, but Gilbert and both of our goal is just to get the kids in the neighborhood to come and really have an outlet for themselves, and just hopefully give them what martial arts has given us: discipline, confidence, and a great community for them to come and be a part of.
Yeah, because the thing is, Gil, you've both talked about, for your own lives, it kind of not, you've alluded to it more than talked about it, but what you do has been life-changing for you both, You are very beautiful people. I've always thought that about you both. I've known you very long, Keri, but I've known Gil a long time, and, I knew him around the Diaz brothers and Jake Shields when he was training with Cesar Gracie up in Concord. I think I came to visit them years ago, I think I threatened to put a bomb under Nate Diaz's car that day if he didn't ring me back. No, it's the kind of thing that Nate understands. You know what I mean? He was like laughing. I said, no, I will come to Stockton, I will take a bomb. Obviously, I wasn't going to do that for anyone listening, but we were just having a laugh because he said he couldn't do that interview just then. But there's a beauty about you both in the way that you present, if you know what I mean. That your people, like it's almost like you've found your roles in life, and that you're very content with it, and clearly with each other as well.
Yeah, and it's become a challenge, to try to be leaders and carry people's weight. But in the great city of San Francisco, things have changed. The cost of living, the expensiveness for everybody live here, and business as well. Business is thriving here. We got a lot of people. We charge a lot for memberships. But there's certain type of people, like Keri and I, who were young growing up, who probably couldn't afford this. Yeah. But we had hearts of lions and tigers and lioness, and, this was an outlet for us. And this kind of brought us out of, our neighborhoods, or brought us in a bigger role of not just working a 9 to 5, just doing something, following our passion. And that's the whole point of having the nonprofit now, and to be able to provide to those young people, and not only make them become champions, but to build character, to maybe show them how to teach, maybe show them how to clean, out here, and show them how to be respectful, how to line up on the wall, things that teachers have handcuffs on in school nowadays because they can't even yell at a student here. But if you get Coach Mo out there, he'll scold you, he'll make you do push-ups, and he'll put it on you. And so we're trying to build character. That's one thing we take pride in out here, and we feel good about that.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that we're learning in the education system is that you've got traditional types of learning and you've got non-traditional types of learning, and I think the longer I'm involved in fight sports, the more I realise that almost everyone in the fight industry, even to the journalists, we're kind of non-traditional. We're much more physical. Our neuro tribe is to get up at 3 a.m. to be able to do something, to get on a flight, to go somewhere, to train in the middle of the night, to be on the move. And I think very often people are marginalised, not just maybe because of income or affluence, but marginalised in a different community and misunderstood because they learn in a different way. Yes, do you know what I mean? And learning while you're being physical I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to be a pro cricketer and I wanted to play rugby. That's what I wanted to do. And I always loved martial arts. I did judo. I went to live in China for a year and I did wushu, and I learned qigong, learned about energy. And I always remember when in the summer, I could hardly sit in the classroom, and that was when exam time was, because I could smell the cut grass. Do you know what I mean? And I could not sit still. I was on a behaviour card at a private school. Do you know what I mean? Because you're drawn, aren't you? It's like a calling,
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we had we have one of our students even trying to spearhead that, and we could already see it trickling down. One of our youngsters actually having that conversation. He said, hey, my parents wanted me to be a doctor, wanted me to be a lawyer. That's not my calling. My calling is a competitor, and there's so many kids, youthful kids out there that this is the school for them. They want to, use their, but they're not meant to sit down for 6 hours a day. I don't think kids are meant to sit down 6 hours a day. And
my favorite subject growing up was PE. I wanted to get out and play sports.
Absolutely. They give you a pill to sit down, all that kind of stuff, or they yell at you for that. And I think kids are meant to run wild. They have energy, but young men, young women, they're full of it. And right here we allow them to let their energy out, but we also tell them how to be respectful, to shake hands, and
to have no fear as well.
Exactly.
Not to have to carry a knife or a gun, to face things.
Yes.
You do learn that.
Yes.
You do learn that in a physical sport.
Yes.
I remember learning in rugby, the big guy, I'm a tiny guy on a rugby field, but you get knocked down, you show no pain, you get on, you carry on, they respect you.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? You can do that in the street. You can back out without getting involved, can't you? But you can back out facing.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It gives you a voice. It gives you, and I felt that's what martial arts has given me. Like, I can handle any confrontation and situation without being nervous, and I can be
having fear.
Or having any sort of fear. Yeah. And I see it in our daughter. We put our daughter in jiu-jitsu, and the very first day she was fall down, kind of cry a little bit. I knew it really didn't hurt. Now she gets thrown and tossed, and she pops back up to her feet. And I think part of it is not learning how to whoop butt, but how to take a beating and to pop back up, and it's not a big deal. And there's nothing to fear,
I agree. He's the talker. He's great.
No.
As a couple, and we're talking about kids in the community, before I just come back to the gym and you two, are there some local schools nearby?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So could you and would you ascribe to any kid that has difficulty in the classroom coming here at 7 a.m. on a weekday and doing an hour in here before they went to school? And I bet you both, hand on heart, would say they'll have a great morning after they spent an hour in here from 7 to 8 in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, people talk about I have a difficulty sleeping, or I have these problems. I'm like, oh, you have a hard time sleeping? Well, why don't you come here and train for a little bit? Oh, you have too much energy? Well, come out here and work out, and then we'll get that cured for you, And there's a lot of things, a lot of people are stressed.
Recently, I had a girlfriend who said she was dealing with a little bit of anxiety, and she came in and took a kickboxing class, and she loves it. And she said it really helps with that. So I was so happy to hear that. That kind of stuff just makes me just appreciate this gym and how much it does for people.
So I'm back to the gym. Thank you for that brilliant segue, Kari. You've been here 7 years now in this gym, is it?
Yeah, this location 7 years, and we started out deeper in the hood, the real hood.
What's the real hood?
The real hood is that's the Bayview, hardcore in the Bayview, and we were on 3rd and Phelps, so that's deeper, south of 3rd and Newcomb, which is supposed to be the hood. And
what is it? Is it Mexican and African American?
Yeah, it's mainly black out there, and the Mission Excelsior is Latino out there, and then it's mainly black over here at Hunters Point, which is down this way a little bit.
But I bet you became a community hub even there, and it's weird, isn't it? When you're in the eye of the storm, you're almost safer. Is that fair to say, or is that the case in America?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, like I said, I grew up in Santa Ana, she grew up in Van Nuys. That doesn't scare me. People don't scare me trying to flex. And we also, demanded respect in the area, and not that anything was, not that there's anything to brag about, but, no one would break into our cars, or some people would actually watch our cars just because of it.
That's what I mean about being in. You make friends, and because people are people, right. And when they see you're cool, they want to be friends, and people. No, you leave them alone. They're part of our community. You know, they're doing good things. You know, my brother goes there. Used to be going into a gang. You know, that kind of thing.
Exactly, and that's what we take pride in. I mean, that's what we love. You know, that's what we thrive on. And it doesn't have to be a kid from the hood. It can be any kid. You know what I mean? If it's a kid who's in say goes to a school that's a little softer that doesn't provide it, you know, hey, bring them over here, you know, or someone that's getting bullied in a different kind of school. But yes, we do. We're able to, you know, I think from where we come from, I come from Santa Ana, she comes from Van Nuys, we can walk with the Ritzes or we can walk in the hood, you know?
Well, as we say, we're a little bit more Hollywood right now than in the last 7 years. But no, it's hardly Hollywood in here. No, it's a proper sweat, blood and tears gym. You can see that, you know, but it's beautiful. And anyone listening to this, if you're in the area, come and do a workout here. Come and join the club, you know, come and join the gym, because it is facilities are fantastic. I don't agree with Gil that they're that basic. You can do everything you ever wanted to in here. I wish I wasn't wearing my Vans shoes today, and I would have probably got beaten up by some 7-year-old or something. But so back to you two. So you meet, you start to get on with each other. You were Muay Thai at the time, yeah, and kickboxing.
Yes.
Gil, you were already in MMA at that point. You were already pro by then, I imagine, weren't you? Yeah. So you're both fighters. How does the relationship like that between two fighters first develop then? What are you going through? How did the relationship get going then? Because you both know what you do. You know what you're into. Is it kind of an easier thing to get going in terms of trust and love and all those things, because you kind of know where the fire is?
Yeah. Well, listen, we were in here.
I'll get
us started.
I think every relationship is difficult and hard.
Sure, I think the first couple years, like, there was a lot of figuring things out. You got to think, we're both in an MMA. I was in an MMA community. She was a kickboxing community. We were in two separate gyms, you know, two separate gangs, as you can say, two separate tribes, two separate clubs. So to steal her from a tribe or from another gang or another club, and you know, and
you were like the native going into another tribe to steal their woman, weren't you?
Yeah, goddamn.
So you had the kickboxing community going, you just came over here from MMA and you stole our woman.
Yeah, something like that. You know, something like that. She was worth fighting for, you know, and and I did pursue her for a while, and I think there was some resistance.
It's meant to be that way, you know that. Yeah. Men are supposed to pursue women, I think.
I believe so.
No, I think so.
I think so.
I do. I think that.
I think so.
I definitely think that's how love grows, I think, you know, because I've got this feeling, there's an instinct in me that thinks that women, I don't know if you'll ascribe to this as well, Kari, but if a man doesn't chase a woman and she's not sure, it leaves a doubt there, because you have to be giving everything for them to give up everything for you, you know. Is that fair?
That's very fair. Gilbert was very persistent. And I like that about him, actually. Yeah. I don't know if it would have worked out if he would have just went away.
And it wasn't easy for her to, like, separate from her tribe and her people out there, you know, right?
It was a little bit of a hard time. I was 22 years old. I was 22. So, and I loved the sport, and they got me into the sport, so it was difficult kind of separating from them. But it was funny but there was a little drama when I look back on it, of just like different teams and abandonment and the politics that go along with different gyms, which I understand now. But it was a little bit of a difficult time. Almost felt like a little Romeo and Juliet type of thing.
Oh, wow.
I guess,
really?
like different, like, you know, well, they're from a different team and we don't like him and things like that.
I was running around like a madman for a while too, so, you know.
Well, you were in the scrap pack then, weren't you, as well? And it didn't have it's not like you were. The weird thing was, and I remember saying this to Nick Diaz. You've always been very chilled out with me since I've known you. Jake always was as well, Jake Shields. Obviously, the two Diaz boys, they're naturally suspicious of everyone.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, Nick and Nate do like me. I hope they respect me, actually. But, sure. I mean, I do like them very much. And I remember saying to them both, do you not realise there's a whole swathe of people that really love the fact you're counterculture? They love the fact that you guys do things your way, that the scrap pack's out there. And because they always have this kind of this thing that everyone's against us, and they didn't realise quite how popular they were, or you were as a group. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I think, we have a code. We have the Warrior Code, and a lot of people don't have that. And to this day, I take pride on us being grassroots. We were all white belts together. We were not a bunch of celebrities that got recruited and got put into a gym. We're more than a team. We're a brotherhood. And we knew loyalty was the most important thing than anything, backing each other up. Not every family member is a gem. Some are a little crazy, some are a little wild, but they're blood. They become blood, and that's most important. And I think people respected that we went by a code and that we backed each other up. Sometimes it was us against the world, and that's how we rolled.
And you all progressed, and you all go your separate ways, and you and Keri, form your union. Here we are now. I suppose you're a family now. You're not a couple who are getting together. You obviously fall in love. Has it been easier now? You look back on it, both being fighters, both having that calling to have a marriage and a relationship and a family as fighters, because it'll be a fascinating thing for most people on the outside.
I don't know if I would say easier. It took us a second to really get to where we are now and to figure out the dynamic between us and to figure out who's fighting and when and our daughter and making it work and a lot of teamwork and compromise and having good people around us. It took us years to get to where we are now and how it does work well. And right now I am happy about it. And I do understand where he's coming from. He understands where I'm coming from. We support each other. And we work as a team, and our daughter is also very supportive. She grew up in this lifestyle, so she's amazing when either of us are in fight camp.
When Gil was very active during Strikeforce as well, Strikeforce and UFC, were you cornering at the time with him?
Cornering for
him as a cornerman. Yeah.
Oh, no. I was cornering him at home.
Exactly.
I was cornering at home, helping with food, with our daughter, helping figure out his schedule, helping with the business. Basically taking all the pressure I could off him, and so he can just focus on fighting. That was what I was trying to do at that time, yes. So I wasn't fighting at all, and I was definitely just 100% supporting his career and how well he was doing.
Was that the toughest period for you? Because obviously you weren't fighting as much.
It was tough, but it was, I had a daughter, and I needed to focus on being a mother, and I was okay with that role and okay with being a support system for Gilbert. He was doing really well, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing that, and I enjoy where I'm at now. I'm happy that I get my turn, and I think it was the perfect timing, the way everything worked out. I do feel like it was meant to be that way. It would have been too much if I tried to fight at that time with what he was doing. I don't know if things would have worked out.
Would you, if you hadn't had your daughter, forgive me, I can't remember her name.
Layla K.
If you hadn't had Layla K, do you think you would have been in the corner with Gil?
If I did not have Layla K?
If you hadn't had her, would you have been in the corner with him at his fights?
I think you'd have to ask him that. I don't, but
okay.
But I would have been fighting.
Okay, but now you've got him in your corner for your fights. Is that a great support network, having him there on the night?
Yes.
And the fight week, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, I need him there. It took us also a second to get the dynamic down for a coach and student, or coach and fighter, for him to be my coach, because he is my head MMA coach. And being in a relationship at the same time, dealing with my attitude, and I've always respected him, but just... Does
he shout at you ever when you're in the training then?
Does shout at me, and he's really hard on me, and sometimes I would be sensitive about that.
Do you take it so... But I'm not trying to pry into your relationship here at all, but...
I'm right, we take it home.
That's what I was going to say. So if he's been particularly hard on you on a training session at home, is it hard to leave it in the gym sometimes?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, wow, that's really incredible.
Definitely is.
I mean,
that's really tough.
It's tough, but I'm lucky also. I get a lot of people are like, oh, wow, you get Gilbert and all these private lessons. And we also take it home in a positive way to work on things and questions that I have. And just even watching fights together and strategizing and talking about fights is fun. We do it for fun all the time.
Because one of the things, just before I get your answer, because one of the things that I did a big piece recently talking to Haim Ghazali and his son, and they're both fighting in Israel together on the same card. AJ McKee and Anthony McKee want to fight on the same cards in Los Angeles next year. And of course, Anthony has got a 13-month-old as well, who AJ is also training. He's doing arm bars at the age of 13 months already. And you can imagine, those boys are, they're black men from the hood, but they're beautiful men. Again, they're beautiful people, Anthony is he's a very wise man who didn't have the opportunities that his son has had. Sure. And I often think, even with Ryan Couture and Randy Couture, how tough could I do that with my father, him train me? I don't have that kind of relationship. I could never have done that. So I imagine I spoke to them all. I spoke to the Gracies, Connery and Hoyce about those kind of things. That they've all the father and son teams told me that they need to separate very clearly father from trainer, especially emotionally. And I haven't talked to a husband and wife team before in this way, and I imagine it's very complex, and at times you can't overthink it. You just need to go to sleep. Do you know what I mean? And just sleep on it.
Yeah, sometimes we do go to sleep on it. Sometimes on the other side of the bed, and sometimes we make peace. But I'll tell you,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, but it's definitely trial and error. This is our first experience with it. Yeah. I was kicking ass in my career, and she took a step on the sidelines to really support me. Because we're not only a relationship, we're a partnership, right? It was what's best for the family. And at that time, there was actually nothing for women. She actually got some competition in during that time just to get her fix, because after 2 years, she'd boil up, and I need to do a fight. All right, Kari, it's going to be tough for me. And, she had a fight 4 weeks before. I fought Josh Thompson the third time. It was a difficult time for both of us, but we got through it. I got the W. We moved on, She was like, okay, I got my fix. Maybe I never have to fight again, Of course, in my head, I knew, okay, yeah, right, So, I was prepping her for MMA when the time was right. We were prepping each other. And, now it's her time to shine. But it has been difficult. It has been a challenge to balance it out. I still have my goals in pursuing, being a successful fighter, as well as having a daughter, being a father, running a gym business, trying to be an analyst, having revenue streams, having the pressure.
You don't try to be an analyst. You're a great analyst, really.
Thank you very much for that, Gareth. But yes, trying to have that revenue stream, just the pressures of being a provider for your family, but also seeing my wife, not only be a freaking dang good mother and a dang good competitor, but she's also a big part of the gym. She's a leader, and
she's also your lover.
Yes, and that's not easy either.
It's so complicated. I'm sitting here with you, and for anyone listening, you're clearly so suited to each other, and you can feel the love. No, I'm very much a romantic, and it's beautiful. It's lovely to see. It's like. It's like a Hollywood movie.
I told you I'm romantic. I'm different.
Well, what I was going to come to as well was, when you're shouting at your wife in the gym in front of, 20 people in your training, do you ever think, shit, I'm screaming at my wife here to do this here? And do you ever stop in your tracks, or have you already done that emotional, romantic separation at that point?
Yeah, when it comes to the gym, it does. We become a little bit separate, especially during fight time, and we learn how to handle each other. She gives me a little bit more of attitude, as well as I have higher expectations. I become that very arrogant professor who doesn't have time for elementary school students, and then she also becomes that fighter, who can take advice from someone else, but not as much from me. But we also know we both have each other's best interests in mind, and that I am in her best interests, and I really want her to succeed, and she wants me to succeed. And having that person, having that kind of trust, that's what you need for a coach and a corner person, is trust, and really believing that they want what's best for you. And I think she knows I want what's best for her.
It's fascinating that, because relationships are all about trust. I mean, kind of marriages and, love relationships, sexual relationships are about trust as well. In the mainstream, it is about that. It's about a very deep trust. And maybe in some ways, Keri, it's maybe easier that your husband is in the corner with you, is there on fight week, is there in your home every night, that you share a bed, that you, all of those things, that you share a child, Maybe it is easier to have Gil as your head coach.
Yes, it is. I wouldn't have it any other way. It works for us. And if he was not putting as much into me, I would be like, what's wrong with you? Help me here. So I think it's easy. I don't know anything else, but it works for us, and I'm happy.
In fight week, if I go to fight week with you both together, is there an influence? Is there a moment, particularly on fight day? Because I'm going to ask Gil about this. I've actually spoken to Gil about this before when you fought the last time, what he goes through, and I'm going to ask him in a minute. But is there ever nerves that it's your husband watching you, and he's the husband, the father of your child, and are you going through a separation in that moment? Or just before a fight, do you go through, he's my husband, he's my coach, he's my love? Or is there just, this is my coach, I'm in a particular mindset, this is fight week?
I'm in a particular mindset, it's fight week, but I do expect a lot from him. I put a lot on his plate when I'm fighting.
What?
Well, if I want for him to be, a hug, I want to give the hug. I don't want him to baby me or bring something else out of me. So
be very aware of your needs. It's about your needs. It's about you. No. Seriously, yes. About you, because you're the one that could get killed in there. You're the one that I get it, because you have embraced oblivion almost, haven't you? Yes. You all embrace oblivion in that moment. That's what's so hard. He's sending you off to war.
Yes. And I'm sure he probably doesn't want me to fight, but it's my choice, and he supports it. And he knows me. He knows the things that I need. He knows when I need him to back away. He knows when I want a little bit of support. He knows not to be too much. So it makes me just, I don't know, maybe soft, I guess you would say. I don't want to just go into his arms and be like, I don't want to do this. No, he knows the things that I need. He knows me inside and out, just everything. I don't want to do it without him. I like him there.
It's funny that you, when I was going me, that you kind of went physically uncomfortable about it. No, but I understand it. Gil clearly understands that. I mean, I don't want this to be an intervention. But it's clearly a difficult process to go through, to actually process that in that schedule, if you like, of that, because you're almost talking about having to get into a different persona, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a different mindset. Of course, we're a relationship and all that, but definitely fight week. Yes, I'm her husband, but it's not like we're not this lovey-dovey husband and wife. I'm just the ultimate coach and supporter. I'm packing her bag, not because she makes me, because I know she needs support. It's the
same you do for Jake Shields or Nick Diaz or Nate Diaz or Cesar Grace.
Same thing I would do for any other fighter, and you humble yourself, and I love to do it. You know why? Because I need it for myself, and I know how important it is for someone just to go down and get your water for yourself, to pack you your lunch, to get you your plastics.
They're doing the weight cut.
Yeah, doing the weight cut, lifting you up, checking your weight, knowing when to sympathize, knowing when to suck it up, and knowing when to go out there, It's tough for me because I've considered myself the sacrificial lamb for the family. I've did it because I love it, and it's become a business for me now, and I have to do it to cash a paycheck. Of course, I'm lucky that I get to do something I love. She doesn't have to do this. She does not have to do this, but she wants to. And who am I to tell her not to? So all I can do is support her. But I'm there for her, and I think I am the best person for her.
When you and I chatted about this when Keri was doing press conference the last time, and you were saying, call her. We were talking about who she was going to call out, if you remember, yeah. And we were at the back of the press room. I think it was after the Pachanga event, actually, right. after the Pachanga win, and I said to you, and I'll ask you the same question now on tape. How tough is it when your wife goes through a fight on that night? When you walk, she does her walk, she goes along the cavalcade, along the cascade, along the platform, whatever you want to call it. That music's on, she's chosen her music, she's got that warrior face on. You know that her body is going to get kicked and punched, and she's going to fight, and she can go with cuts all over her. She could even lose her life in that combat cage, because it can happen. It's, a combat cage is a place where someone can legally die, can legally be killed. What do you go through?
It's very tough. And then, when you put it in those words, you try to put those emotions aside and try to be the coach, but it goes through my head every day. It goes through my heart all the time. I have that white towel close, like I'm ready to throw it in even before they ring the bell. It's tough, and it gets tougher each time, just to know that she's going to go through it. And also just seeing her go through the weight cut, see her going through training camp, see her break down, see her get black eyes, see her sparring and them going hard. It's tough to put that aside and not be this like crybaby, oversensitive husband. But I have to be strong for her, as I expect her to be strong for me. And, I have to be strong as a coach to let her know this is part of the game. It's okay. A black eye's all right. You're going to be okay. I don't have to, I don't want to baby her. I have to make her strong. But it's very tough to hold those emotions in, knowing that I just want to tell her, what the F are you doing this for? You do not need to do this. We're fine. We're doing good financially. We're doing good in life. We're happy. This just adds more stress. We don't really need this. But at the same time, there's no better high in the world when she gets through it and she's successful. And I just got to realize that it'd be a shame if the world doesn't get to see her skills and that she doesn't get to test herself on the biggest stage and put it into perspective of how important it is for her to pursue her passion and to do all that. And that's what kind of eases my pain of her going in there and knowing what she's about to go through.
And, and also be a pioneer, because it's a real time for, I don't know any other sport. One of the things I love about mixed martial arts is, having been involved in sport for nearly 3 decades, nearly 30 years, is that MMA, the way that women have been brought into MMA seems to be more accelerated than any other sport. That there's opportunities. There aren't in boxing for women in the same way. I've covered boxing for 27 years. They've tried to make $1 million babies in boxing. It doesn't work. And because of the things, what the UFC did with Ronda Rousey, what Scott Coker did with Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey in Strikeforce, the acceleration for the projection of women at a time when, hashtag Me Too and women's movement forward in the world is so kind of prevalent at the moment. Women's MMA is right at the forefront of that, because really significant women in the world seem to really, I think I do, I think you do, I think we look up to women that will fight, will literally fight physically for a living. Beat that answer. Beat that answer. Go on. Come on, Keri. Come on. In your combat top.
I can't beat that. You said it perfectly. What you said also is that I'm happy to be a part of it. I want to be here. I want to represent women. I want to be an influence on my daughter. So I just want to be a part of it. And I want to show what Gilbert said, my skills to the world, not just as a woman, but as an athlete and a competitor who thinks that I do have what it takes, and I do want people to see my skill.
Yeah, and I want to comment on that too a little bit, as in, I think I've always known she's had the skill, and I just knew the opportunity one day would be there for the ladies. And there's a lot of ladies who were on the shelf, working and not training because there's only $1,000 for a fight. The best 115-pounder in the world would make $1,000 in a fight, so there was no reason for them to be training.
So they were making a loss basically after a training camp,
Yeah, you nailed it right there. Yeah. But we knew, and I knew, people were telling Keri, hey, it's time to have another kid. Hey, Keri, don't fight. Now everyone's singing a different tune. Both our families, my family, her family, now they're singing a different tune. But subconsciously, I knew what we were preparing for this whole time, getting ready for this moment and doing that. And now we're here at a point, where she's on the big stage, and it's the perfect timing for all that. And I also want to add that she's not only a leader for women, she's not only a leader for her daughter, but she's a leader in this gym for all human beings, for the men out here. She inspires me, she inspires the men. You should see her on the track, leading a practice for guys, running sprints, and them, following her like a Joan of Arc. You know what I mean? They're soldiers because they respect her. It's not about representing for women, representing for her daughter anyway. It's about representing the team and just for freaking hard-working humans at this point.
Well, these are great words, but I'm going to lighten it up a little bit towards the end now. I want to ask you both, that moment after a fight, particularly when Keri's fought, there's some big old motorbikes around here.
We've got the Hell's Angels right around the corner. They're
there they were.
Yeah, there they go,
So it's the San Francisco chapter. Yeah. I'm a big biker myself. I will probably end up doing a podcast with them at some point. Yeah. I will roll around there on my bike at some point. When you're a big, rough, tough guy, and men are meant to fight, I think. When Keri finishes a fight, I'd love to ask you both, what's that moment like when you do have that hug afterwards, where you do drop the guard, where the masks do fall off at the end of a fight? What is that moment like, where you're in love again, you're a union again, you're not fighting now, you're in love,
Right, yeah, you're no longer the coach anymore.
Yeah, what's that moment like?
There's no wall. There's nothing beats that night, being a fighter is fun. You have all these people around you, but then there's that moment at night, when you're in bed alone or with your significant other, and she's with me and I'm with her.
The fight's over.
It's all done,
You're going, retire, darling, retire, please.
Yeah, exactly. Your adrenaline's high. Mine is high. We both don't sleep on fight night. We're up till 8 a.m, just because we're hyped up on it.
Baby's at home, yeah?
Yeah, baby's at home or with my mother-in-law, and we might even be at home because we are in San Jose.
Are you more in love in those adrenaline fueled hours? Is there a danger that you're going to get Keri pregnant again in those hours?
Oh man,
is the high so
I give her space, but then after that it's like, hey man, I'm calling the shots again for a second, dude, and I'll take what I want. But
is it like being deeply in love again in that moment?
It is. I would definitely say it is. It's a relief, and there's a relief, and who can you feel your relief with besides your lover, and we feel that relief together. We've overcame it together, and it's always been that way after my fights or hers, and yeah, it is. It's just a big sign of relief, and it's great to share it with that person. So it's very nice. I love it.
I do love it also. After my fight, I just have this huge appreciation for just what we went through, and that even, I think in my first couple, not the last one, maybe the last one, I just run in his arms, and I'm like, now you can hold me. And I'm just happy and on this great high in life, and I wouldn't want to be there with anyone else.
I remember seeing you guys in the bar afterwards, I think around a table, is that right? Yeah. In Pechanga. I came over to say, I like to leave people alone after the fight in their groups, and because you like you say, you're diffusing, aren't you?
Yeah.
So last couple of funny questions, right? We always ask guys, so do you have sex in fight week?
I have 7 days out max, dude. 7 days out max. Sometimes I'll push 10 days, never fight week. So
you have that belief, that old tribal belief that it keeps your chi inside.
It's a damn fact. Sometimes you do something before training and you're like, oof, that was a bad idea. I have nothing after training, and sometimes it energizes you or something. But yeah, the old fact is, save it for after fight.
I know what Keri's going to tell me. She can't resist you all the way up to fight night. Keri?
No, not at all. I want nothing to do with him.
That's tough. It's a tough time.
Is it the same thing for you? I don't mean to embarrass you at all. It's just a really. We always ask guys ask guys that question. And is it the same for you as a woman, that you want to keep your chi there?
I do feel that, but I have heard other people, like even Ronda Rousey, say it brings women's testosterone up. But I don't fight weak.
Talk about your mental. How you feel about it? Like, no, she doesn't.
No, I don't. Yeah, I said I don't want to.
She doesn't like lovey-dovey shit. Like 3 weeks out of your fight.
Really? You're getting into your spirit. Yeah.
She's mean. She's aggressive, and I'm mean. I'm aggressive too. But it's different with you have your woman and you do whatever. She's mean and aggressive, and she's like, don't freaking touch me, anybody, whatever, and I'm like, hey, come over here.
She's hugs.
She's like, get away from me. But,
less hugs.
Less hugs.
Yeah.
Less hugs, less everything.
I don't want to get into where he holds me and I'm like, oh, help me, or I don't know, or save me or anything. I need to just focus and
You're talking about empowerment as well, aren't you? I mean, because I think that traditionally, again, guys are meant to be hard and women are meant to be soft. But in that moment, I'm not saying that women aren't naturally fighters, but I think we all fight in different ways. But I don't think it'll ever come to the point where, maybe it's 25% of men that have a fight, 30% of men, but I don't think we'll get to the point where a third of women all fight. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Whether it's in the street or the playground or the gym or professionally, because it is more unusual, I think, It will probably change over centuries. There were 1,000 noblewomen in ancient Rome that became gladiators, and one of the emperors forbade it in the end because too many aristocratic women wanted to live the lives of gladiators. You know why? Because the buzz they got in their body from that training, from that lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. Surfers had that lifestyle, didn't they? It's like surfing in a sense. It's tougher. It's a lifestyle. You embrace it, don't you?
Yes. I don't know what kind of question you're asking, but yeah.
I'm not. I'm just. I think it's unusual what you do at the moment.
Different person. She's definitely a different person those 4 weeks out. From my wife, from my loving person, to a gladiator woman who needs her space and is focused on her mission at hand. And she doesn't need anything to cause waves in that perfect mindset she has. She doesn't need nobody to soften her up. And like you said, the difference between men and women, I think, is I can flip the switch a little bit quicker, and she needs to stay in that mindset, and she doesn't need someone like me, jacking up her, her rhythm or her mindset. And I think she can break a little bit easier into tears or turning back into, a loving woman, and where she wants to maintain that beast mentality.
As Kari I think is the next one to fight next, yeah? I'm going to thank you for Kari and obviously Gil for letting me today into your gym, into your home in a way, into your hearts, and into your minds, into your warrior spirits. It's absolutely fascinating. Thank you both very much indeed. Thank you, Kari.
Oh, thank you for having me and having this conversation. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for hanging out with us, and hopefully we can do it again.
I've been with Gilbert Melendez and Keri Melendez at El Nino, 3rd Street, Cesar Chavez, 2920 3rd Street, Cesar Chavez, in the hood, San Francisco.
That's right.
You've been listening to a Fighting Spirits podcast with me, Gareth A Davies. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to my website at garethadavies.com if you'd like to follow my work.